Hey, it's Thursday. I'll post this later today. I'm just sitting here looking at these two cards. It's Trust and Magic Guardian, Unlock the Magic Within. And why I'm looking at these cards, it's because the video that I posted yesterday, and I was thinking about how there's some other element of this that I felt that I was incorrect about. As far as aliens go, it feels more of like they're showing me Einstein, Newton, and those different theories that came to be what we know is true now, and how knowing that information, it seems obvious. It's the journey to seeing it, understanding it, that makes it difficult, but once we know, it's very obvious and easy, and almost it's so in your face, it's so clear, it's so simple that. And then they're showing me a bee landing on a flower. And then I saw a smile, and it was this like very beautiful smile. I'm hearing the word enigmatic smile, and them saying, "Isn't that so obvious? It's so obvious. The bee landing on the flower, isn't that so obvious?" And they keep saying a third element, and it has to be something that's taught. And when I ask what it is that needs to be taught, it's almost this frustrating energy. Like, they're obviously not frustrated towards me, but it's trying to convey how can you know what needs to be taught if you need it to be taught to you? Like, how can it be explained to you if you wouldn't understand? And they take me back to the Instagram. It's like, how can you have that concept if you don't understand it to begin with? And somehow I'm just talking, I'm just brainstorming. So I just figured I don't know, I just share with you what's going on in my mind. And you know, you can watch if you want. So they're talking about how I keep seeing the bee landing on a flower, and they're connecting that, then they're connecting what I'm saying about something to be learned, and then they're connecting me with our bodies, and how oftentimes people make the decision or the mistake, if it's done ignorantly, to, well, I guess ultimately it is ignorant, even if it is a mistake. But it's not. Okay, let me complete my sentence. My thought is, they're talking about how people can often make the mistake to live for their bodies, in the sense that our body is not here necessarily for worldly conditions or worldly pursuits or worldly desires. It's here to serve for our soul to follow its purpose, right? This is just a borrowed shell. We're all gonna die, right? And so finding your purpose is connecting you to your soul, and your soul connected to God, or the God, it is God, but what I'm actually seeing is like the godly realm, you know, like the angelic realm. It's like the realm where higher beings exist and coexist, and the journey of our souls, it's like ribbons. I just see ribbons, and how like the ribbons are like it's just our soul's journey. It's like you know, our DNA, what we're supposed, how the trajectory of our experiences. And so when people come to Earth, right, then I mean, you think about when I brought up Satan's nest, my friend saying that, we were talking about Hollywood, and how that's Satan's nest, and so demons have to go somewhere, so at least they're, you know, congregating in different areas, not just Hollywood, but you know, they're in little nests. You kind of know where they are, or you can identify them, and they're all kind of grouped together, right? And so people can sometimes make that decision to live for their body, right? Am I making sense? I guess this video I don't necessarily have to make sense, because it's just brainstorming. It's like that, the ribbons I'm talking about, it's kind of like that. And so with the trust, it feels like there's that element that I don't know if it's like neglecting it in some way when it comes to this, where it's like, if I can just keep being mindful of the overall reason, or like the overall promise, then this would make much more sense. Why, I don't know why I'm showing you this. Like everything that I was talking about in that last video would make more sense in, and I asked, like, is it like communism? They're like, it's not like communism, because I was thinking, you know, when people make that decision to do like this offset, and it's like, do you want to live in this society where you're more apathetic, or do you want the freedoms, the liberties to choose? And then you could potentially have a very unhealthy life, right? And how I have this idea, like, you know, communism, like communist countries, like they could use real evidence of places like America, where there's a drug epidemic, there's, you know, violence, and they can use footage of that to use as propaganda, right? Like, is this what you want, or do you want to obey us? Like, this is what you see, right? Or, and then I see like this escape story where these people end up getting hold of evidence of like something very beautiful about America, and it's like internally they've always felt, well, I still want to choose, even if I get that, I still choose to have that choice. But Spirit's saying, my guardian angels are saying, it's not like that. It's not like that. And they're saying, like, they're going, step one, God's not going to let anything happen, right? Like, that's not in the promise, right? Right. And then they're saying, look at this, the wings of this angel or this guardian, right? And they're saying, what happens if you have a feather from these wings? It's like a symbol, right? It's like symbolic of something. When you find the feather and you hold on to the feather, it's symbolic of something bigger than what you can perceive. And they're saying it's somewhere hidden in that, what I just said. It's somewhere hidden in that. It's like it's bigger than what you can perceive, but once you see it, then it's easily seen. It's the whole thing about being taught something. It's like once you know it, it's very easy to identify, but you don't know it because you don't have the experience. You don't have, but the experience comes from being taught by someone. And then I asked, like, who can teach or who has this information? And it's like, I saw like a glimmer when I said that. There's like glimmering. I saw something glimmering. And then from there, like, how did they get taught? Like, where did this originate? Who's the beginning? Because if someone was able to figure this out, then that means can't someone else figure it out? Because it has to have come from somewhere, which means anyone else can do it, right? It's like, no. That's where that energy comes from, that frustrating, strange energy. It's like, okay. They're bringing me back to this memory I have of the morning dew and babies. And again, that awareness, that coming to awareness of this world. Like when babies are born, for many months of their lives, they aren't aware, they cannot perceive and retain and understand their surroundings. And the morning I finally recognize morning dew is something that's forever stamped in my memory. And they're bringing that forward because it's something to do with like that growth. Like you have to mature, you have to grow, you have to get to a certain point of enlightenment in order to even be able to see this particular thing. And they're saying to connect everything together. Like when I talk about the soulmates, and they talk about how that is ultimately like when the soul, this is getting so much closer. They're saying go back to that, go back to that, go back to that. Go back to when I was talking about how people were worshiping all kinds of different gods, which were demons, right? Or they were fallen angels, and people were worshiping them as other angels or gods, their gods. And how like people existed. Okay, they're talking about Satan, and how Satan is like, I don't know, he's a hermaphrodite, right? And so it's a mockery, it's a physical embodiment it's mocking the soulmate relationship, right? The soulmate is when they ultimately unite, it's the male and the female connected. God itself is a soulmate. It's like, it's the whole goal of what we are. This is what I've seen in visions. It's the whole goal of what we are as souls, which is to evolve and evolve and evolve in order for the soulmates to unite. And ultimately it creates this massive equilibrium that makes this whole universe, like universes, this whole reality of what we perceive cease to exist, because it becomes ultimate peace, becomes ultimate love. And I've done videos I talk about this in like my older videos, so you can find it somewhere, but they're connecting that, right? Because God had previously existed as many souls that reunited. So through these processes of different lives and parallel universes, that is the souls trying to come back to equilibrium together, right? And so what is all of this existing for, as far as the pulling apart of everyone and dismantling of society itself? Like, what is all of this for? What is Satan representing in that, right? And how does it all come together? Well, when we go back to when people were worshiping all these demons, these fallen angels, it's because the soulmates, the world was still young, or like the world in the sense of the world of souls. The souls were still young. We were still starting to experience different realities. We had just recently come from God. We had just been recently born of God into free will. We had just been released from that. Our innocence was taken from us, and we are starting to perceive more and more and more of things that we are creating. Much like a baby has been created and come to earth, is now learning of the earth, which means it's less perceiving of the spirit world and more into the world that it's been born into. So it's like the souls, and how from birth into what the limited reality in which we kind of vary in. And so it's this feeling like, you know, again, keep going back and finish that, is because when it was like an attack, it was an attack on the souls, because the fallen angels knew how powerful committed soulmate relationships are, because it's two pure healed souls, high vibrational souls that are willing to emulate God within their lives, right? Unconditional love, sacrifice of self, which means you're denying your worldly desires, that selfishness to, like, the body. When we talk about the body, and it's like you living for your body, it's like if you recognize your soulmate, and you know this is your soulmate, and you know you're then, and it's your twin flame, which means that you're still not supposed to be with them in this lifetime, or you need to pull apart from there, and you deny it, and you force and force and force, then you're not living for your soul. You're not living for your purpose, right? So you're fighting against the conditions in which are being tested against you demonically, because you're not being sorry, I was thinking about Lucifer, because I believe from my visions Lucifer is the counterpart of Archangel Michael. And you can connect Lucifer and this feeling of being kicked out of heaven, being so aware so aware of the power and the connectedness of God. And that's why I think Lucifer's been misrepresented, but then became bitter. So then it's true, but also untrue, because there's a missing story to it, where Lucifer did want, like, Lucifer was coveting the power of God. But it's meant to happen. It's meant to be, right? And so sometimes, like, in our journeys, there are people who are, like, not good people, jealous people, angry, bitter, just foolish in their behavior and their pursuits. And, you know, who's to say if that's their journey or not, I guess. But I mean, I guess in some way, I mean, you can only, okay, randomly cut off. Don't know how that connects to aliens still don't understand that. Because I'm not looking at the bigger picture. I'm saying it and then I'm deciding not to look at the bigger picture. Okay, so they're bringing me back to where I see all kinds of different gods, and then I'm looking at aliens, and they're saying you need to look at society now and kind of transfer that currently. There's something currently that you can transfer that to make more sense of it, where basically it could be true for some people that they're seeing I don't know. Okay. So basically what's being told to me is that it's like connects with your emotions, which is you don't know if you're not doing it yet. That's what they're saying. It's like you're not doing it yet, so you aren't gonna fully understand. And then they're talking about like crystal balls and how like you'll know better if you use a crystal ball. That's what they're saying. Like, you'll know better if you use a crystal ball. And then they're showing me examples of things in my life where it's like, how do you know if you're accurate on something? Like, how do you learn, or how do you get, okay, they're like, okay, how did you learn what you know now? Like, as far as like all this, you know, everything, how did you actually learn? And how I learned was like connecting. And they're like, but how did you know if you, like, how did you know? Like, you can be taught something, but how do you know you're actually being taught? And they're having me go back to the beginning. Like, not the beginning, but like when I was like before I could walk. And I would talk to my guardian angels, and they're like, how did you know who to talk to, who to respond to? I'm like, well, you're the only ones I remember. So I didn't, like, I just did. And they're like, that's not true. And then they're bringing me forward into some of my older years when I was a child, and the first awareness I had of a demon and how they're like, you always knew, but you knew then because you were being primed for it prior. And they're connecting to everything I'm saying, where it's like you were being taught it without knowing. So it brings me back to being the baby and how babies it's by constantly being around it. Familiarity, the length of awareness, like the length of being alive, like the more you become practice is by practice. They're also showing like feral children and how like children who are like abused and they've been locked up somewhere for an extended period of time, and how if you take them out, they can't physically see beyond where they've been brought up in. So if they're in a room for the majority of their lives, if you take them out of the room, they can't perceive what's beyond those dimensions of the room. So you have to practice seeing aliens. That's what you have to practice. Not demons, not fallen angels, not demons. True aliens, you have to practice seeing them. And I'm asking, well, what about the ones that are in the physical world, like somewhere else? If people get abducted or anything like that, and the likelihood that you're abducted by a physical vessel is less likely than something that you would have to perceive happening to you. It would be a different way in which they're operating. Like we're operating in the physical. You have to, they're connecting it when I was saying like we're our soul and we identify as our body and all of that. So if you identify yourself as the soul, how does that change the way that you perceive other realities that are existing beyond your perception? I'm closer. It feels similar to things I've been saying, so I don't know if I just like forgot, but I'm also saying something more. So how, but I'm just like, how did there, what about physical aliens? How did they capture physical aliens, or how did aliens physically capture, where is this? And then they're saying that they're basically saying those are two, they're like you're mixing in many different things because there's many different types of aliens, right? You know, like some are more in the, I don't know, in the ethers or something. Like you have to see it with, it'd be like ultraviolet light glasses. Like you have to put on glasses and then you can see the aliens, right? Or like people with the little ghost things, or like cameras. Like you have to see it with a different, like there's probably aliens around right now, but you cannot see them without either using some sort of device, but you don't necessarily, you don't always need, you can intuit them, you can feel them, or if you practice then you can see them, because they're saying like, do you see us? And then they're like, but the way that you see us different. So, and that's different than seeing them. but it's similar in the sense that they're not physically here. You cannot see what I see. You cannot see the people I see. You can't see the angels that I see. You can't see the darker things that I see, which I don't look at, but you know. So I guess I'm just talking about multiple different things because it's just like, I'm hearing no. I'm hearing no. Like aliens would not actually form an attack. Any other entity that would be demonic, because we're more of the demonic beings in the, like, people who reside on Earth and where we could potentially locate and move to. We would be more of the demonic beings in the sense that we like, I'm here because basically, like, we summon demons, right? And that's the whole thing. There's like some alien race or races though, but they're being manipulated or controlled. It's like we still have some sort of conflict of interest, right, with these aliens. But it's like, it'd be like if there's it's like there's a society of people who have successfully captured alien race and are using them as an enslaved population to do their own bidding. Like, they're enslaved because you have to put them on equal caliber to some degree as human beings, right? Like, we have our own like alien special gifts, right? We have some really mystical abilities as human beings. We do some really cool stuff, right? So if you take another entity off of a planet that is obviously in the physical reality, not some parallel universe that we cannot reach, that's not in our mind's eye, then you can dominate this species if you are more advanced. And we are more likely of that desire than other energies are, other entities. And then I was thinking about how I did this video of like soul trackers, and then I saw like these, they're like hopping onto like different, like there's other different demonic areas, right? But they're saying don't get ahead of yourself in that because the physical form changes, not in the sense of an alien species. It's like literally, it would be like where, was it like transparent? What is it called when it's like, you know, we're not physically, we don't have the same, we're not as, like, if they go somewhere else, it's this world, the physical world, is the place to be. This is the place that's happening. Everything pops off on Earth. This is where you want to be, okay? Especially if you're of a darker force, because you have the physical body, the vessel, to act out your physical, your demonic desires, okay? The struggle is because you are still of light, so you're combating against your truest nature, against God. So it's always this push-pull dynamic, because there's that want to control and to contain and to lower the vibration, overall vibration of Earth, in order for these darker entities to summon up, because we're going to be less of a physical in some ways, like the way that we see, it doesn't change that we're less physical, okay? It doesn't change that. It changes the vibration so that in sense becomes transposed. I think that's the word, you know, it's like a ghost. Then you can see them. So they can roam more freely in that way. So the vibration of those times where gods and well, demons and everything were roaming, and Atlantis, all this, the vibration was different. The vibration was a bigger range, okay? It was different. So the vibration, it's a vibrational thing, okay? Anyway, I need to go for a walk. The confusion, I feel, is being lifted. That's what I'm seeing. Okay. Yeah. We have letting go of urgency, Archangel Raziel, surrender, freedom from time constraints, wisdom, inspiration, Akashic records. Is basically, how do I say it? It ain't no big deal. You know, what happens, happens. If you want to figure it out in due time, I think, you know, I just have to trust that I'll figure it out. Did I talk about the crystal ball? I mentioned the crystal ball. And I just noticed when I said that, it kind of looks like she has a crystal ball. It's kind of that same thing where it's like, and then everything else I'm saying where it's like you don't know until you do it, and then you don't know when you're doing it until you have some form of feedback. And so I need to meditate more, I think. Trust your instincts. That's probably like, yeah, you do. Yeah, you need to get down to business, start meditating. Trust in higher forces. Okay. And direction guardian, choose your path. So my path is going to and something about this bald eagle that's been so important to me lately, and I'm calling it now, and I'm gonna call it for you too, because I really feel called to say this. Something huge is going to happen for me, spiritually speaking, and I feel if you stuck through this, I really do believe this for you, because there was a point where like bald eagles, oh, and we're wearing this again, yeah, it's like just like resounding in my mind constantly, and then a bald eagle, like so something crazy happened, like spiritually, and when it happened I was like, I don't know, like this is really crazy, this is really weird, and I was so skeptical because it was so mind-blowing. And he doesn't always, but he's reminding me of that experience. Like it was probably, this is actually the first time, and it's like making me so, I'm like getting flustered because this is, I'm like he always, but he's only first time this has been brought up, and it's feeling so powerfully strong of this like bald eagle man. And anyway, so it happened, and then I was telling one of my friends what was going on, and I was like, as soon as I said, I'm like, I don't know, you know, I started like doubt, I don't know. It was so crazy. I'm not even saying anything. I'm so flustered. Anyway, so a bald eagle, I swear on everything, a bald eagle flew outside of my window, and I was freaking out. Did I tell you guys this? I might have told you this before. I was freaking out. A bald eagle flew outside of my window, and I was like, I can't believe this. I cannot believe this. And I think I was like having dreams too, and just constant bald eagle everything. And then later on, I don't know when it was, like I can't remember what this, but I'm like looking because I think I don't know if I threw it away or not. I found a bald eagle feather, and then I threw it away because I'm not supposed to have it. Anyway, so I've been this whole thing about bald eagles, right? Again, and I was like thinking about that freaking feather. And one time I found like I'm just, whatever. Anyway, so sorry, I'm so flustered. I'm just thinking that I'm not even thinking anything. I'm just really, really flustered. Okay. So, like, I just feel so nervous. I need to put this away. Anyway, so something else. So that happened, right? So then something else like mildly crazy happened, and I started feeling, it's really like this shamanic, like guide energy, like very, very strong. And so I started feeling it coming up, but it felt like a different energy. And then I found a red tail hawk feather, and I found it at like, you know, some number like 11 o'clock in the morning or something like that. And I was just like, weird. I didn't pick that one up. I figured maybe a kid will find it. Anyway, so I was thinking about those the other day, and then I went for a walk, and I swear I thought I saw a bald eagle flying like far in the distance, and then I found another feather. It didn't fly out my window. My window's open. I'm like starting to sweat. Okay, so, whoa, how does this have to do with you? Because I think something really crazy, mind-blowingly spiritual, maybe like a spiritual upgrade, some sort of information passing through you or to you, for you. It's just so freaky. It makes me so nervous, because these are the cards, you know, and I'm done here, and then I'm gonna go for a walk. Just keep my eyes closed the entire time. So, she-wolf, unleash the wild within. Then we have medicine mother, honor your inner knowing. Medicine guardian, be open to healing information. And seer, see beyond the current situation. I don't see this in any other way personally that I feel, other than something really spiritual happening, which in that case it is obviously very healing, right? To evolve in any sort of way, to have information, to have knowledge of anything, no matter how difficult or exciting it is, a type of information, it still is healing, because to know something means that you have the ability to do something about it. Medicine mother, honor your inner knowing. I feel like it really coincides with trusting your inner, trust in the higher forces, in the sense that basically it's claim it. Just claim it when it happens. And, you know, if you feel it and this resonates and you're like also flustered, like I know it's going to happen, or I know it has happened, then you have to trust it. You just have to go with it. I mean, I didn't have a choice, honestly. Like the stuff that I was experiencing, I literally had no choice. And it was, I don't know, it was really crazy. That's why it makes me nervous, because see, and then I split it, and I really should stop. But it says take note of intuitive messages, because the way that I feel is like when it happened, it's like there's no denying it, but then it's so surreal that you just naturally want to deny it. I mean, it depends on your personality, but that's just the way it is for me. And so it's like so supernatural to me. And so it's this feeling like when I showed you those two cards, the shaman and the medicine mother, where it's like your guides, your spiritual team, like they will come forward in a more obvious way to make sure that you do not ignore that. It's like we cannot let you, like that's they're your guides. They're here to guide you. And it's like them coming forward, like, listen, you need to stop denying. We're gonna drive you crazy if you keep ignoring this. Like, what else, how more obvious does it need to be? And then unleash the wild within and see beyond the current situation, I feel are also one and the same, in the sense that it's trusting your inner knowing. Unleashing the wild within is like what I say about something being too surreal. It's like you want to be rigid in your belief. It's like you see things a certain way. So to have that expanded is like, I'm comfortable in my little bubble. I'm comfortable in what I know. And so when you allow that wild, untamed to happen, then that allows you to expand beyond that and enjoy that process, accept the process. Because I don't think, like, I just wanted to clarify with the whole thing about being open to healing information with that little guy in here, the heart guardian, or what is he? He's right here. I'm trying to, sorry, he's the medicine guardian. What was the girl? Anyway, because she's right here with him. I just wanted to clarify about like the range of things that could come forward, but I don't feel that it's something negative. I don't think that it's not negative, because obviously it's the way that you perceive it, but it's not something that would make you feel troubled or tested or tried. It's tested in a good way. Like things that happened to me that expanded my awareness, those are all very good things, like extraordinarily good. It's like, it's very difficult to conceive. It's like, I guess I could compare it in some ways to really understanding that my like what I see of my guardian angels and like what I believed. Like I always believed it, but I didn't feel like I had proof, and I felt like I needed some sort of proof. And then like this one time, this isn't this that I'm talking about, but when I had this like vision of God's love, and it was like this coming to understand that like that's all there is. I don't know why I said that. Because it was that's a good thing. That's not the example I'm talking about, but that's like it's similar. Like that's kind of the feeling I get, where it's similar, where it's like, I don't know, because obviously I'm going through it myself. So yeah, okay. Let's pull one more and then I'm gonna leave for real. I'm sweating, so now I have to wash this sweater because I didn't wash it yesterday. And I have to change before I go for a walk. I don't feel this is a career transition. We have Raphael, breathe. I think this is a very important message here. About breathing. Take several deep breaths and exhale slowly to awaken your energy and to release old patterns. I think that's so important here, because it's this feeling of like breathing in and exhaling, and as you exhale, there's like it unleashes the wild within and allows this to come in. It's less constricting energy. Like how me being flustered, I'm constricting my energy. I'm getting constricted because I am nervous and anticipating what it could be. So just relax, get into a clear space. Don't be nervous. Just let it happen. And then we have career transition, Archangel Chamuel. Your life purpose is triggering a blessed career change. I don't necessarily feel that that could be resonant with you. I really feel like it's some sort of physical change though. Like your life purpose is triggering something to change within your physical environment. Or it's causing such a big shift in you that something externally is going to change. I won't be painting my hair blue, so I don't know what that would mean for me. Clairsentience, Archangel Raguel. Notice your reoccurring physical and emotional feelings as they signify divine guidance. And you can get closer to feeling that when you come from a more calm place where you're breathing, you're relaxing, you're aware of your body sensations, and you are, you're attuned to your needs in order for you to be able to not be blocking yourself from being a clear channel for this. I think something about people seeing you different. People are going to see you different in some way. And I'm like sitting here thinking, because I don't think that has to do with me, right? And then I'm hearing like, never mind you, like don't, just ignore you, BERRA, like ignore you. Let's not talk about you right now. So career transition, your life purpose is triggering a blessed career change. There's something about your presentation, like how it's the way that they're saying like a rainbow's a rainbow. It'll always be a rainbow. But the way that people shift and perceive the rainbow can adjust. It can be different. So it's something like that where it's like there's some sort of change. This thing occurs, and then that triggers, it's like a signal. It signals something on your life path that it's like the locking. They're showing me like the locking of train tracks, right? So it's like a redirection. You're not being redirected, it's just locking into the next spot. So that somehow is signaling that next shift. So it locks it in place, and then something changes. It's like you're ahead of your time. It's like you're ahead of your time in something somehow, whatever, and people are finally catching up to it. They're like, that's cool, like that makes sense, something like that. Like you're being triggered to like lock yourself into who you are, but then somehow that changes the way people see you. And they're showing me Marilyn Monroe. I don't know who said this. I watched some little video about it or something where I think it was the person who, maybe like one of her, I don't know, someone who knows her, and how she could like turn on her energy. So she could be walking in public and people wouldn't know who she is, but then she'd be like, do you want to see? And then she would just like not do anything different. She didn't like start walking different. She didn't like uncover herself. It was just like she changed something in her energy, like a shapeshifter. She changed her energy, and all of a sudden people knew it was her. So she could like go out into public and like hide. So it's something similar to that, but you weren't aware. It's like something happens, okay? You got something with your guides happening, something crazy and monumentous in a good way, and then it's like you shapeshift. You're still you. Nothing really has actually changed necessarily, but then it triggers something in the external environment and how it affects you. We're gonna say it's like the Marilyn Monroe situation, where it's like you can turn on and off your energy, and you're timeless and like ahead of your time. And so you're timeless and ahead of your time. To be timeless, you have set the standard, but they didn't know you set the standard quite yet. Something like that. I don't know. I'm not gonna say I don't know. Sorry, I take that back. That was me trying to just decompress. Okay, so I'm gonna go decompress out in the streets by, hold on, ouch, my elbow. I'm still here. I'm back. Because I just thought about something. I feel like I just figured something out for myself that makes a lot more sense, which is they, meaning any human being that is working for a demonic force, demons themselves will never completely destroy humanity by themselves. They will not do that. Why? Because just as I said about Earth and having the free will that we have and having the differences, right? The whole reason why they want to keep the soulmates separate is because we have to keep this perpetual loop of trying to heal ourselves, and that gives them the control to just live freely without God's reign, right? They don't want to be under God's control, which they still are, but they want to be the gods. They're living as gods because they control people through look at the way our system is, right? Like all the people who are treating people unfairly, taking their own personal rights away, right? And so even if something were to happen where they teamed up with some evil race, which I don't believe is necessarily possible, but I'm not entirely sure. Stand your ground is super important here. It's something about standing your ground. But I can jump off of this to complete what I'm saying, which is it will never happen. I think that's the biggest truth that that was trying to come across, is it will never happen in the sense that they will have full control. They will try and try and try, but it's impossible because they are of the light, irregardless of whether they admit that or not. And they cannot, like, someone has to be in control, which means someone has to have awareness. Someone has to have that knowledge. And in that, they still have to reproduce, right? And they still have to have slaves in order to kind of grow whatever world that they want. And they need people who are going to honor them. All things that I've already said, right? But the whole point that I'm getting at is it could never happen. Because think about an evil family, and then the person who branches off from it. Like, they finally realize, hey, this isn't right. They have an awareness, like, this is not okay. This doesn't seem right. And so if you take it back to that communist example, I think that's what was trying to come through with that too, where that's not it, but listen to what you're saying kind of thing, which is basically the story that I was getting with that is, they see all of this propaganda, but in their hearts, they know that that's something they want. So a story that I was seeing, I don't know if I explained it in that last recording, is they see a video that actually makes them really happy. It's something really interesting. Like, wow, this is really what America's like, is that community of people who celebrate and party and, hug each other and love each other, and all different religious backgrounds, all different races, all different genders, or not well, if you guys attest to different genders, but I meant like sexual preferences. Like, they are actually also very loving community, and we can trust ourselves that there is an opportunity to thrive. You know what? I don't care about all of the hardships that may come with this. I want to take that leap of faith and give that opportunity to myself and to my family and my generations. And then they go for it, right? It's the whole plight of all these immigrants, the good immigrants, because a lot of them are sincere people who are looking for a better life from a place that is oppressive, right? And then they're taken advantage of by these evil people that escape into this area, right? Yep. So shapeshifter. We were talking about that earlier. Shapeshifter, she came out again, and she came out again. The seer and the animal guardian. Trust your instincts, see beyond your current situation, transform and unveil your gifts. How does that have to do with what I see? So this is what I am envisioning. Okay, this is just how it's being portrayed to me. So let's say it's the year 3023, okay? And there's an offset universe. It wouldn't take that long at all. It would not take that long. But anyway, so there's this community of people living in their little hamsters. Now, who's controlling that, right? They're AI. They're functioning transhumans. And there's some sort of like hidden community of people, human beings, that know anytime that they need to, they have some sort of weapon system, like another AI, to take down the AI that they created or somehow control the AI that they created. So these people are aware. They're fully aware. They have full autonomy over their bodies. And so in that, these people have the ability to perceive. They aren't just bred, because it's now illegal to breed, okay? This is the process that brought them to 3023. They implemented laws where you couldn't breed, you couldn't have babies, you couldn't have families, right? So any baby that was allowed had to be, you know, how they do babies now, like in vitro, and then it extends to some other just purely lab created baby, okay? And so on and so forth. It just like changes completely from there. You know, even on these other planets, there's chimeras moving around, right? Because that's just the way it is. People learn to accept it because it slowly happens and slowly is accepted. Okay. Now, it won't happen, that because it's God's promise. It's God's promise. I need to go back to the Bible and see what happens at the end of the world. The apocalypse, that, and maybe what other religious texts say about the end of the world, if they also talk about the apocalypse, if they also talk about the ultimate destruction of humanity, what that looks like, or just, you know, people transferring to somewhere else, and just kind of look into that some more and see what I get or what I feel when it comes to that. But ultimately what I see is it won't happen, because if someone has autonomy, if they have free will, then and they're not being intercepted like these other people who are transhuman, then there will always be the black sheep. There will always be people who are going to cycle out and factor through and filter through, right? And so if you think about Atlantis versus the coming of Jesus Christ, the second coming of God, or first coming of Jesus. We're waiting for the second coming, right? Christians, right? If you don't believe that some of these other beings are also some fragment of God, like that, you know, God realized. Okay, so that's what I realized here is it would never happen. So trusting that it would not be the end, it would be like a low version, possibly, but then there would be another explosion, right, of freedom again, right? Get what I'm saying? Because they'll never destroy Earth and they'll never destroy humanity, because they need bodies. They need human bodies, and they need the free will in order to like be controllers. You can't control if you have no one to control, and you don't have a vessel to get into. I don't think that they're trying to, I think it, and I don't think that they're trying to like inhabit robot bodies or like like jump bodies. I don't see them necessarily wanting to jump bodies, because you have to also look at it as like, I'm talking about people who are like they're aware, like we're aware. Like I am aware of some of my past lives. So these people are hyper aware and they've been initiated into this. So they know a lot more than like the average person, because they have practitioners around them to help trigger those things. And you know, they have the worldly desires that people you know, wrongly try to attain, right? Like some people look at success as people who are empty in their soul, you know, in morality, but have a lot of temporary things, right? Physical things, or glamour, right? So I think in theory they would want people who are just existing. They want apathetic people. They want hypnotic people. It would get boring after a while, but I can see that they want that. They would want like, just like people want twisted people want really twisted stuff. So I can see all the range, which I won't get into, of things that people in that culture community would want, that they experiment with anyway, currently. But they I mean, ultimately they have to go, they don't think that it's true. I'm generalizing, I guess, but it seems like a general consensus is that they don't think that it's true that this is the one that keeps coming up, stand your ground. Like every time I look at stand your ground. So generally speaking, they're aware that they have to abide by God's rule. So when you think about different theories, scientific theories, and how the world operates, there's some things you can't quite bend, because that's just this reality of here. And how there are things that you could potentially manipulate in order to shift the vibration, in order to change some of those theories, the way that the world operates. But it's still, there's still a process. There's no real quite shortcuts. Okay? And so in that manner, that's the way that they perceive also God's rule. but there's no shortcut necessarily. It's just kind of workarounds that they're trying to figure out. It's kind of like this thing where it's like trying to get one up on God, you know? So if you think about the Garden of Eden and you think about enlightenment, so eating the apple brought awareness, it brought enlightenment, it brought intelligence. And so that's what brought, symbolically, that's what brought us here to earth. And so it's like, well, can we replicate that in another way? So God grants us more power. It's something like that. And that's impossible. It'll never be. And just as many light workers have reincarnated here on varying degrees, whether it's united soulmates coming down and reuniting to inspire and drive people towards their inner calling, their inner purpose, and live by example. Whether it's people like different roles for different people who are elevated beings coming down here, and whether they identify that for themselves or not, right? People that are in hospitality oftentimes are light workers. People who work with children, people who are just light people, and they live in some dire circumstances. They live in some troubling circumstances, but they bring a lot of hope and peace and encouragement and relief in a lot of these communities. Like they were brought into they chose to come into these troubling circumstances, environments, in order to uplift people surrounding them. Different things for different people. And so it would never be. It would never be. It would be an eternal struggle to have what it is that they truly want, but it would be impossible. Like it can only occur for so long, like some sort of, like if you want to say like a communist rule or an empire, like those things eventually fall. Okay. Anyway. This again, magic guardian, unlock the magic within. That's what she is. Magic guardian. I'm gonna go to the beach. I'm gonna go walk on the beach. That's what I'm gonna do. Bye. Hey, still the same day, Thursday. I'm thinking about what I was talking about, and I was thinking how, like, with soulmates, that's a true representation of your connection with God. You know, so when you're united, then you're kind of, I don't know how to explain. It's like this more evolved God particle. So like individually, we're little God particles. Like we're a product of God, right? We are God's children, right? Made in God's image. But when we reunite with our soulmate, that is on a level committing and proving, like it's purified. So in order to fully unite with your soulmate, you've gone through processes where you exemplify selflessness, unconditional love, understanding, patience, right? All of those things. And I'm just thinking about how Jesus, the story of Jesus and Christianity and forgiveness is such a powerful message for people, because you think about all the corrupt things that people do to initiate themselves into basically like allowing demons or Satan to work through them. So they defile themselves and other people. And so I guess in some ways that is body hopping for the demons, but like that's what the demons want. That's not what like human beings, like people here right now, they want control. Like demons want something different. Demons want to work through human beings because they're too low vibrational to exist here. So they do have to work through human beings. Maybe with the transhumanism, they could probably intercept a lot easier, especially if the vibration of the universe is a lot lower. But I think that's different than what I was saying. Like that's two separate things, because people themselves, they want to exist with their own their own selfish motives. It's like I mean, I'm generalizing, so anyway. But with forgiveness, you think about all the like insane things that people will do in order to swear themselves off or to allow these entities to work through them, and how they kind of bank on people's ignorance and feeling like they're so far gone that they can't be forgiven, like in this life, for their decisions, when in reality they are forgiven. Like they are worthy, and so they could turn any moment that they want to the light. And like they're loved, irregardless of what they do. They're still loved by the divine. They're loved by God. And at our soul level, we do forgive others. It's just our process of becoming more enlightened to be able to see that or accept that fully. I know there's like real world consequences for that kind of stuff, but so anyway, when we talk about like soulmates, right, and like the connection with the soulmates exemplifying a pure like the purified souls connecting with God, and they want that separation, because the more that there's separation from the soulmate, then we understand that there's no true separation, right? It's just what we perceive. It's our limited perception to see that there's separation. And then that is represented in the physical sense, right? When in fact, the physical sense of separation is there for a reason, for whatever soul's purpose is necessary for you to be separate from your soulmate in an intimate way. You connect with them in multiple ways. Whether it's your child and all of that, but there's a reason for that. And when you are closer to that uniting with your soulmate, and you're making these choices to exemplify God, and say, I choose to love unconditionally. I choose not to try and manipulate the situation. I choose to trust. I choose to honor the other person's free will and their decisions. I do all of these things, right, that are walking the same footsteps as Christ. And so when you really recognize that you're not actually separate from them, even if physically you are, the closer or the faster that connection can heal, in order for you to have a lifetime where you physically unite, in order for you to have that third element, which is giving birth to a being born of a purified relationship, a soulmate relationship. And also, if you backtrack and do, like twin flame journeys, where it's like you recognize who they are, but you're not supposed to be in intimate relationship with them, but they are someone that is of the opposite gender and not related to you, then that could be an inspiration for them to guide you to someone to have a relationship with and to make those choices. So again, a child born of that same love that is radiating through you through those holy choices that you're making, that's a commitment to your soul's growth, ultimately your soul and your counterpart's soul, which is ultimately in honor of God, right? So it's like that feeling, that pull that you have with the person, like the love of your life, where it's like nothing could ever change my love for you, nothing could ever pull me away from this, you know, other than their own free will and decisions or whatever. It's like I could never see myself with anyone else or whatever. Like I'm talking about if you're with someone, you're like head over heels for them, like that love, that deep love. And how that love is proof, it's like that love again is a representative of what the soul feels about God. That's how you truly feel about God, is unconditional loving, and nothing could pull you away from God. And so that same energy would never dissipate. So in truth, like I was saying, is like, you know, these future society, like it could never fully be, because there will be souls incarnating that will ignite and re-inspire. Like you can't filter that out. And there will more than likely be other entities, high vibrational entities from other planetary systems that would visit, that would show up in order to remind. But they're more high vibrational. I don't know, they're a different culture. They just think different. So they would help in some way. Because you have to think they're also souls. They're souls too. They're just trying to make Earth like trap souls. But it could never be. It's always going to be a battle until it's not. Well, these are the two cards, in case you're wondering. It says, all is well. Everything is happening exactly as it's supposed to. With hidden blessings, you'll soon understand. Archangel Jeremiel and victory. Archangel Sandalphon, your prayers have been heard and answered. Have faith. So, if anyone's watching, hey, thanks for listening to me talk to myself. Even though you got a message for you. So I'm just pulling a little bit more for you, since I'm re-acknowledging you. So be brave and honest. This is very important here. Have enough courage to speak your mind about whatever it is that you feel or what you believe in. And Shield Maiden, make plans and focus. So it feels like you should I'm drawn to the word aid in here in Maiden. This girl, again, be graceful in movement and action. Kind of feels like either someone's coming to your aid or vice versa, you're going to someone else's aid in some way. And this is a slight message. I don't know if this is gonna resonate with everyone. Likely not, but I did mention in my other video where it says the answer is yes, about like following your passion, and how basically, like, if you follow your intuition, like if you've ever felt something weird, right, and it just feels like God himself, or it's like just someone's telling me some, you know, whatever, to do this, then do it. Like, even if it feels weird or doesn't make sense, like if you feel like just showing up to the grocery store and paying for someone's groceries, like something completely just out the box random for you, or like how when I found my cat, you know, I drove to the gym in the middle of the night and I found my kitty cat. And so it's like, if you really feel something, it's gonna feel uncomfortable not doing it. So don't deny yourself of doing whatever it is that you feel needs to be done. Follow that feeling. As long as it's nothing like psycho, don't do anything crazy. If someone out there watching, that is. Okay. Something peaceful. And this, again, stand your ground again. So anyway, bye. I'm gonna go drink my Zevia and do the dishes, I guess.